bonus round, we have the final round of Modern. This is round 4 of 4 tonight from Epic Loot in sunny Centerville, Ohio.
Just wrapped up a 46-player standard, 5-round standard tournament. So we're getting our last round of Modern in here. They run Modern concurrently at Epic Loot starting at 9 o'clock. Gives a couple of standard players that didn't do so well in the standard event a chance to drop from standard and enter Modern.
We have on camera for you here Adam Minniear, also a founding member of the original Dayton Magic Club over at Wright State University, years and years and years, very active in the scene and the community. He's played on a couple of pro tours. He's played really at a pretty high level for a pretty long time. Just, local grinder here out of the Dayton area.
Very good Magic player.
Alex Roach, I don't know as well.
No, I'm not familiar with Alex Roach, but I would imagine if he's 3-0 in a Modern event, he's
in a fairly competitive room here.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So really curious to see what these guys are on. Adam Minniear has been talking about a deck. I don't know if he had it finished in time for the tournament tonight.
I'm not sure. I know Adam Minniear's been on Fairies for a while. I know he's played that relatively recently, actually, in the last couple events. He's been talking about building a Death and Taxes deck in Modern, but I'm going to say, I'm just going to go ahead and call it. Based on the blue sleeves, I'm just going to call Fairies.
All right, fair enough.
We'll know from the first land that he plays. There's no confusion between whether or not you're playing Death and Taxes or Fairies when you drop that first land.
Yep. What do we see in Alex Roach's hand? Anything?
I think I see Tarmogoyfs.
Okay.
I could be those cards in the middle there kind of look like Goyfs. I could be wrong. I could be way wrong. It's a little hard to tell.
Oh, I don't know if you guys can still hear us. Looks like we lost the camera for a minute. Our operator Jacob Ross is doing what he can.
Jacob the Great.
I am confident that he will get us back up and running. In the meantime,
is it Jacob the Great or Jacob the Incredible?
Jacob the truly unbelievable. So we'll get this camera dialed in here for you guys.
I believe we might have saw a mulligan there from Adam. And that is the case. Adam went ahead and went down to 6 cards. Looks like Adam is actually neither on Fairies nor Death and Taxes, but he's on Burn. So we've seen Adam play Burn quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely. He is
he's very, very big on very big mono red player.
Yeah, noted red player. Has played Burn and various iterations of various Stompy shells. The accelerated red.
So when I called the blue sleeves earlier, saying he was playing Fairies, just goes to the notion of don't judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely.
Adam is practicing the art of subterfuge here.
The correct thing here is not quite.
You gotta like the mono red deck in blue sleeves, though.
I'm a big fan.
You can't go wrong with it.
I am a big fan.
And as long as he's got a land, he's gonna keep that one. So I believe the first 2 mulligans were just 0 lands.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate in a Burn deck, because a Burn deck is one of those decks that needs to have that critical mass of cards to assemble the 21 damage it needs to finish the game.
Absolutely. It's very reasonable to look at Burn as, in fact, a
combo deck. And given the fact that Adam's on the play, meaning he is just stuck with those 5 cards, he's not going to get the draw step.
Which coming in this match from behind a little bit.
It could prove to be a problem as he's trying to, get the 20 damage in there. So he's going to lead it off with Monastery Swift Spear.
Which I like. I've been playing it in my Modern Burn deck a little bit, and I'm a big fan.
Goblin Guides 5 through 8. Potentially better, not as good on turn 1.
Yeah.
Stirrings from Alex Roach, and
that is putting him pretty firmly on a Tron variant of some sort.
I am actually going to say, given the fact that he led off with Breeding Pool, he could be on Amulet of Vigor.
Oh, a very good point, yes.
But given the number of blue spells I see in his hand, it's actually a little hard to call at this point. A lot of blue spells with Ancient Stirrings. Amulet of Vigor is what I'd want to say, but I don't think that's right, just given the number of blue spells I see in his hand.
Okay. Well, could be something sweet. We'll find out pretty soon here. I imagine it'll shape up.
And we have Ancient Stirrings number 2 from Alex. Adam Minniear's got double Swift Spear on board. He just needs to follow that up with a couple burn spells. And he's actually got a decent clock on his
hands. Off and running.
Alex Roach already at 15, taking a couple damage off of his own Breeding Pool.
Yep.
Not the greatest place to be against the burn deck.
Not against the double Swift Spear start, which very rapidly can become better than the wisely feared double goblin guides.
So we see an expedition map, so he's definitely on a Tron build of some sort.
Okay.
Given the number of blue cards in his hand, it doesn't look like it's going to be your traditional red-green Tron list. You know, typically the Tron builds you see are either mono blue or blue white.
Yep.
Given the breeding pools, he's probably on a Simic Tron of some sort.
Yeah. All right. I'm curious as to what you get. You know, like what's your incentive there?
By running blue and
Yeah.
green, that's Tarmogoyf.
Sure. Sure. Tooth and nail.
One of the things you could do now that we have a newer format with modern, not newer format, I want to say a
format has
that's
changed a little bit.
The Tron is one of those decks that just runs a ton of cantrips early in the game to kind of try and assemble its end game. You know, you could potentially see, you know, Dig Through Time or Treasure Cruise in a Tron list. That's not too far-fetched.
No, that's actually a really good point.
If you take a traditional red-green Tron list that just rifles through, you know, 6-7 cards the first few turns of the game trying to set up his Tron lands. Now, granted, we've got 3 lands on the board from Alex, and we haven't seen a Tron land at this point.
That's true.
So we could still potentially just not even know what he's on.
That's a good point.
There's still a lot of unknowns in Alex's opening several cards.
Yeah. He is, however, under an enormous amount of pressure.
Yeah, from Adam's 5-card hand, he's at 1 life already.
Very likely to just be dead.
Yeah, this game could be over before we got started, even though Adam was on the play with a 5-card hand, 1 land, and the double Swift Spear and a couple burn spells is all it takes.
Although
there's our first Tron land from Alex.
Okay, that starts to clear things up a little bit. Although burn in Modern is certainly a less powerful deck than its legacy cousin. They're very similarly constructed, but you lose cards like Fire Blast and Price of Progress. I certainly think it's better positioned in Modern than it is in Legacy. There are no turn 1 combo decks that you have to fight through.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to go ahead and go to game 2.
All right.
So Adam putting up a very strong start there, given the fact that he multi-5, kept 1 land with a couple creatures. It was still able to assemble 20 damage out of those creatures.
Absolutely.
Just with a couple lava spikes.
Swift Spear is a very real card.
Yeah, especially double Swift Spear with you know, a lava spike. You know, 2 Swift Spears and a lava spike is 7 damage.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely.
And then when you have Alex, you know, shocking himself 1 or 2 times off of his own shock lands.
Yep. Yep. And then just really not interacting. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, he spent the that's one of the things that Tron does, and I would typically say that Burn is a bad matchup for Tron because Tron really doesn't do anything turns 1 through 3. Yep. You know, occasionally you'll get the you know, the perfect Tron hand in the red and green list anyways, where you go, you know, turn 1 expedition map, turn 2 your 2nd Tron land, crack map, get your 3rd Tron land, turn 3 Karn.
Right.
Or in this case, a Worm Coil engine, which have been magnificent.
Yep. Yeah,
was not the case.
Does not give you a lot of time to mess around.
No, there's no dirtling to be done.
So, Alex is going to be bringing in the maximum number of Worm Coil engines if he doesn't start them.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sure. I mean, you know, we saw Alex get a you know, Ancient Stirrings, we saw Expedition Map, and we saw a Tron lane. But the fact that we saw like double Breeding Pool and Forest,
it's a lot of non-Tron lands.
Yeah, and typically your Tron decks, like your streamlined red-green Tron lists, they only run a handful of non-Tron lands. Yep. Typically 4 go over the Burn Willows, maybe a Ghost Quarter and a
then
Forest.
Like 1 Forest in case you get Ghost Quartered. Yeah.
So I would guess that he's on like a more controlling style Tron list, like the mono blue list that run up to like 8 or 9 islands.
Sure. Or the blue white. It's basically a blue white control deck that can go really big because you eventually just hit all your Tron lands.
So the question at this point is, what are you getting out of you know,
this particular
that green splash that you don't normally get out of the white splash when you're running the control list?
Yeah. Be interested to see if there's anything.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if we actually get to that point in the game.
Yeah. If you're Adam, you have potential access to things like, what's it called? Molten Rain.
Molten Rain, yeah.
Or if you're a complete lunatic, you used to have all the way up to, the one that exiles. It costs 4 mana.
Sowing Salt.
Sowing Salt.
Yeah, if you want to try and get up to 4 mana in a burn deck and cast Sowing Salt, it's definitely something you can do.
It is a card that is legal in this format.
Yep.
I think Molten Rain is more likely, if he even feels the need to have anything against what you said, and I agree with you, is already probably a pretty decent matchup. Just maybe a little fine tuning, maybe some skull cracks to help race a worm coil engine, maybe some artifact removal if you have it to
Break up the worm coil.
Yeah,
I think one of the cards that Adam has access to that might not seem very relevant in this matchup, just due to the nature of Tron casting giant spells, is actually Eidolon and the Great Revel. Because Tron cannot get to the point of casting its giant spells until it's gone through the motions of expedition maps and chromatic stars and spheres and signets and
that's an excellent
ancient
point.
stirrings and so on and so forth. So if Adam can actually land that card early before Alex sets up that end game, he's actually going to be able to get a lot of damage out of the Eidolon.
Yeah, I remember seeing in the Red Green Tron list, being surprised how effective Stony Silence was against them.
Yeah.
You don't think of it as a deck that is weak to Stony Silence, but it really counts on cantripping through all the chromatic spheres and all the expedition maps to get the deck
and
assembled.
Stony Silence just turns those cards into dead draws.
Yep. And the deck is really full of them. So,
and another thing you'll typically see out of the Tron list too is they'll use those chromatic stars and chromatic spheres, and they'll board in Nature's Claim.
Yep.
And they'll actually start shooting their own artifacts for the 4 life.
Sure.
And it's very relevant when you're looking at a burn deck.
Absolutely.
I've actually done that myself a handful of times, and it's a very effective gameplay, especially with the chromatic star. I believe star. Is that when it hits the graveyard, you draw a card.
You don't have to actually cycle the mana through it just whenever it dies. Yeah, it's star. It used to see play in Affinity for exactly that reason.
Yep. So it'd be interesting to see what Alex can muster up out of his sideboard to actually stop the aggressive.
You could see potentially with the actual blue mana, Spell Skite becomes a relatively reasonable option if he has it. Because you don't have to pay the life, you can actually keep blue mana up and redirect bolts.
And if I'm Adam here, I don't really know what Alex is on. We're just going to call it Tron at this point. Some version of Tron. Smash to Smithereens, no matter what version of Tron your opponent's on, is a good sideboard card to bring
Absolutely. I'm a big fan.
If you can catch him on an expedition map they haven't cracked yet, or if he's playing a larger version where he's actually running signets and slowing down the mana production.
Sure. And of course, when Worm Coil Engine attacks or blocks, it buys a turn where they're off. It's another skull crack. So Adam, fanning out his hand, looks relatively happy with it.
Yeah, I see a Goblin Guide in there. It's hard to kind of spot. So I see a Eidolon of the Great Revel, I think.
Power Plant.
And one of my favorite cards in Modern that doesn't see a ton of play is Shard Volley. I absolutely love Shard Volley as a Magic card. Very underrepresented in the format. And,
certainly no Chain Lightning, but
Yeah, it's no Chain Lightning, but it does do a pretty good Fire Blast representation.
Absolutely.
So if you're sacking lands, you're sacking lands, and Shard Volley is a good card to use those extra lands late in the game when you don't need them anymore.
Fills your graveyard up for Grim Lavamancer very effectively.
Yep.
Turn 1 Goblin Guide, the nut.
And there's a free land for Alex. Now, if he was on the draw, that free land wouldn't get him a whole lot, just because he might end up having to move to discard stuff to get rid of it. But being on the play, he's actually going to get to keep that card.
No second Tron land, and no green. He decides not to play a green source if he has one.
Yeah. There's a Signet, so we are on a more controlling Tron list now. We get to see a little bit more of what he's got in his deck. So typically the more controlling Tron list run, typically you're going to see Remand, Condescend, and Repeal. So that's usually the package that those lists use.
All the way back to the very first, what we consider modern Tron deck, the mono blue Tron with Condescends.
Yeah, the main purpose there is you're not using the Sylvan Scrying and Ancient Stirrings and Expedition map necessarily to find all your Tron pieces. You're just going to keep going through your deck via cantrips and scrying until you find them instead of
just extending the game by being a control deck.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this build because the white seems to offer so much in terms of like wrath effects and things of that nature.
Path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam on one land, but
Path would actually be a really good play here if he was on the white build.
Lava Spike you.
And that's going to be a total of 7 damage coming in this turn.
Which is going to cut Adam's life total down to a very killable range.
Yep.
Is that
Adam's got a full grip, and Alex is going to be... he's going to go ahead and bounce probably this... Okay, it looks like it's going to be the Goblin Guide.
I agree that the Swift Spear might be a slightly better target because if he spends a turn tapping after cast it, it's less damage.
Granted, the fact that Adam missed a land drop, he can't dump a whole lot into Swift Spear at this point.
Sure.
But still, if you're Alex and you're playing a heavy Tron list, you're going to get free lands off the Goblin Guide. So it's kind of a toss-up. Yeah, there's a blocker. So Solemn Simulacrum. I think
Yep.
that's how you pronounce it.
Yep, I believe that's correct. The sad robot.
Sad Robot. I like the old Sad Robot
I
art a
agree
little bit better.
100%.
So
I'm not a big fan of them going back and putting new art on the Invitational Winners
yeah,
cards.
I agree. Although I do like the new Dark Confidant art. No disrespect to the original art.
Sure.
I think the new art is actually very appealing.
I agree.
All right, we see Eye of Ugin on Alex's side. Could potentially be a problem for Adam later in the game as he starts tutoring up answers, potentially Worm Coil engines,
Yep.
and
So
actually, if he got a Sundering Titan, that might actually be a problem for Adam, given the fact that he's sitting on a single mountain.
I agree.
So Sundering Titan could be a problem. We probably still have a few more turns to go before we get to that point in the game.
Adam just needs to determine how to sequence his spells to deal the most amount of damage in the fewest amount of turns with one land.
Yeah, it's really hard to do on one land, and Goblin Guide, maybe not the best option here.
I agree. If he has a 1-mana burn spell, burn and then attack with your guy that lives through a block might be more appealing. But it depends on what's in his hand. The Goblin Guide pass
Now,
is...
given the fact that Alex is at 10, that's about 3.5 burn spells away for Adam, and he could do that off of one land, potentially.
Very much. So what he's got to say is, okay, man, maybe if I draw a second land, I have the Shattering Spree. Maybe I'm setting up to try to blow him out over the next 2 turns if I draw a land.
And the fact that Adam hasn't laid additional lands, you got to imagine his hand is just gas.
Stacked.
It's just gas. I believe we already saw Shard Volley earlier, so we know that's 3 damage. So it just puts him two removal spells out of the way.
Signets are good.
I'm not liking the Alex's play of not having any creatures on the board. Granted, I don't know what the rest of his hand looks like, but not having any creatures on the board really terrify me.
Yeah, it's very scary.
Adam could theoretically just
suspend Riftbolt.
Suspend Riftbolt. I like that. I like that a lot. I go ahead and swing out here and just get the extra damage in, because if he just gets 1 point of damage and he's 3 burn spells away from the win, he top decks a land, game's over.
Yep.
Game's over.
Waiting, the appeal of waiting is that your Swiss Spear becomes a 2/3.
Right, but yeah, he just needs to get 1 point of damage in there to get him within 3 bolt range.
And let's see what's in his hand. He just flipped through it. I mean, it's definitely it's stacked for sure.
Well, we know there's a Shard Volley plus the Rift Bolt is 6 damage.
Yep.
Any other burn spell after an attack and he's dead.
Assuming no Remand Condescend.
Yeah, of course. And Remand on Shard Volley is unfortunate.
It is not what you want.
Not with a single land in play.
It's like getting your Fire Blast Force Willed, basically. Or dazed.
Alex found the Worm Coil engine.
So Adam is in desperate need of a land, assuming that he has access to Shattering.
Yeah, I think Adam's the main hang-up for him this game was just the lack of mana.
Absolutely.
I think he might have been able to close this game out a little bit sooner, given the fact that Alex is already at 10.
Yep.
And he's got a full grip. Provided he drew another land.
Draw for turn.
And that is a mountain.
All right.
So we'll see what Adam can
like
do.
That meant something. You know what I mean? Like we'll see if he's got it.
He's got the Shattering Spree.
I don't think he's got 7 damage. Modern Burn can't do 7 damage with 2 mana. Legacy Burn certainly could in a variety of ways.
No, I think the most he can do is 6. Now, yeah, he's not going to be able to swing through. He's not going to be able to swing through Solemn Simulacrum and Worm Coil Engine. So there's a very good possibility, given the Remand, Repeal, Condescend nature of Mono Blue Tron, even though we're on Simic Tron here, that he's holding a few counter spells, being Condescend or Remand. So that Worm Coil Engine actually might keep Alex out of the red zone.
Absolutely. Now, if Alex attacks with Worm Coil Engine, he opens himself up to block, bolt my guy, untap, kill you.
Yep.
Which he's gonna do.
Yep.
Which is Adam's really his only out.
And that's I believe that's what we're gonna see.
No, we're gonna see Smash Smithereens, which is a card I love. If we're gonna see a counter spell if one exists, and that's gonna end the game pretty much on the spot.
Yeah, that's gonna put Alex up to 13 life. Blockers or no blockers.
Yep.
And Adam trying to deal 13 damage in 1 turn before the Worm Coil gets to swinging is going to be a problem. So
I agree.
It looks like we saw what Mono Blue Tron, or Simic Tron in this case, has to offer, just in the way of counter magic and disruption. That your typical red and green Tron
Does
not
not
have access to that.
No, absolutely. This matchup is probably a lot better. Still, I think not great, but a lot better because of your ability to play counter magic.
Yeah, one of the things that Red Green Tron does have in its favor is consistency. So it typically doesn't have to tutor for its warm coil engines. It's just going to naturally just draw them, given
Right.
the fact that it runs 3 or 4. But in this case, it worked. It looks like it's going to work out in Alex's favor. And a Spell Sky. Spell Sky is going to keep any relevant burn from going straight to his face.
And it's also going to keep a Shattering Spree or a Smash Smithereens, another one from.
It's going to keep that warm coil alive. Adam trying to go over his options here. Looks like he's got Eidolon and Grey Revel in his hand, which is a little too late to the party.
A little too late, I agree.
He's got enough burn in his hand to actually win the game.
Yep.
It's just the mana, the fact that he only has 2 mana in play, the fact there's a Spell Sky on the other side of the board and a Worm Coil is going to keep taking those burn spells.
And I certainly don't
blanking them.
Yeah, I certainly don't mean to imply that Adam played incorrectly this game. I think he played well, given his very limited resources. But a thing, if you're trying to learn burn, an important thing to pick up is that this is often the case, and you never want to hoard your burn spells because your limited resource is almost always being given enough time to deploy your burn. You almost always will draw a lethal amount of burn, but oftentimes you will die before you can cast it unless you sequence it correctly.
Right, and that may have been the case when, again, I don't think Adam did anything wrong or anything. I just, I wonder if recasting that Goblin Guide was the right play.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Instead of, Alex was at 10 there, it's just going ahead and getting the burn spell down and then double burn in the next turn when he had the second land out.
Now, Grim Lavamancer are very powerful against Worm Coil Engine potentially, but here again, a little too little, a little too late.
Yeah, I think with a Spell Scout on the board, I don't see a whole lot of outs here. Worm Coil, he could potentially do some tricks, with combat and lifelink and whatnot. But that Spell Scout is just really it's a it's the modern mother of runes right here. Exactly what we're seeing.
Generally speaking, Adam could set up a turn where he blocks, shoots his guy with Grim Lavamancer, and then burns Adam out, from there. But Spellside can redirect to any of that.
Yep. Not the Lava Spikes,
Right.
Lava Spikes are,
They're going to the face.
Lava Spike gets around Spell's Guide, so, Lava Spike stock goes up a little bit there, but
sure, but he needs
we're still at
six of them.
Yeah.
That's...
So as you can see, Adam's got a full grip of red cards.
Yep.
He's got more than enough in his hand, but like you said, it's a matter of sequencing and timing and deploying your burn spells at a reasonable rate.
Yep. But yeah, this will be going to game 3 very shortly.
Yeah. Now I kind of wonder, we see Alex over there. He's got plenty of Tron mana. He's got an Eye of Ugin. What's his target here? He's got
absolutely.
I believe he's got a tower and then 3 of the non-towers. So that's going to give him access to 9 mana plus 4, 5 with a Signet. So yeah, he's got enough to cast Emrakul.
Absolutely.
He's got enough to drop Emrakul.
I think what Adam would like to see here is the reason to keep playing is to see.
And there we go.
What other weird, with a non-typical Tron build like that, what else Alex might have access to.
Yeah.
But Worm Coil Engine does what Worm Coil Engine does, which is beat red decks once you get untapped with it. So, move on to game 3.
Worm Coil Engine's a very hard card for red to deal with. Smash to Smithereens does a good job of temporarily dealing with the problem. You
have to put yourself in a position to win. With if you had one more turn and then buy that turn with Smash Smithereens, it's not a permanent solution.
I think probably Flame of the Blood Hands and or Skullcrack, depending on what your mana base looks like. If you can support going up to 3 mana burn spells.
Adam definitely going back to his sideboard here for this game.
I think he's probably just whatever number of the anti-life gain burn spells I've actually seen recently too in the burn decks that splash the Bloodstained Mires and Black Cleave Cliffs that because they want to run bump in the night to
Uh-huh.
get the additional lava spikes. They actually run Rain of Gore in the
Yep,
sideboard.
I've seen that.
Rain of Gore actually would do a very good job of just turning spell or Worm Coil Engine off, and actually making Worm Coil not even be able to attack or
Yeah,
block because
exactly.
they would lose 6 life in
Yep.
the process. So
No, it's a powerful effect.
yeah, I do like the Black Splash and Burn. Rain of Gore, in niche cases is good, but I like it more just for the bump in the night to take you up from 16 lava
Yeah,
spikes to 20.
those builds were much more common with Deathrite Shaman was considered to be sort
Mhm.
of a better Grim Lavamancer in a
Yep.
lot of ways.
Yep.
And now that card's been banned, you've seen a return to, and then they printed Eidolon,
Yeah.
a return to the straight red lists.
Deathrite Shaman gave you a great turn one play because you could deploy a creature and then 2 burn spells on turn 2.
Yep.
And then when you didn't need the mana from Deathrite Shaman anymore, you just start shocking them every
Yep,
turn.
absolutely.
So
A very powerful Grim
yeah.
Lavamancer variant for sure.
And that's why it doesn't exist in Modern anymore,
Yep.
because you could put it in any deck that could support
Absolutely.
green or black.
So those builds have fallen by the wayside. You don't see them nearly as often anymore. They certainly do have their powerful elements, but something to be said for the simplicity of the mono red list. It's got obviously a great mana base.
Yep. Yep.
Eidolon Great Devel's a very powerful card.
Yep.
I would play almost certainly. I would play Treasure Cruise in this deck, almost certainly.
Yeah, I don't have the experience with burn that a lot of the players around this area do. I do like keeping a good sized modern gauntlet together, and building burn deck for my gauntlet. I actually do like the bump in the night list just because they do play a little bit more like a combo deck with just do you have enough mana to cast these 1 mana lava spikes and can you get to 6 or 7 of them and just close the game out. And I really like what Rain of Gore does for all of the hate that Burn sees.
Absolutely, for sure.
Um,
Obstinate Baloths, Kitchen Finks.
Yeah, turn to your Rain of Gore, your opponent can't even cast Kitchen Finks.
Yeah. My Kitchen Finks real bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see Adam keeping his 7 and back to a Goblin Guide start. Didn't quite get there last time, but
No.
Still certainly the best start the deck can offer.
So what we saw game 1 was Adam on the play with a 5-card hand was actually able to close the game out before Alex did anything relevant.
That was the turn 4 kill?
Yeah, and as long as Adam can keep can get to 2 lands in a reasonable amount of time.
It looks like we have Blood Moon.
We have a Blood Moon. But as long as he can get to 2 lands in a reasonable amount of time, which he did, he should be able to put enough damage on the board before Alex can assemble
that start,
anything.
that same start.
Did not have a 1-mana burn spell to pump up that Swift Spear,
nope.
Which is a bit surprising. So he might have drawn a couple lands too many, or might have boarded in. Just drawn a handful of his board cards.
Yeah, it looks like maybe 2 Blood Moons. I see 2 white border cards, I think, and
Blood Moon is going to do some work. Might have seen an Eidolon in his hand also. No, it's a Smash to Smithereens, I think.
We're going to jam Blood Moon.
No reason not to.
Nope, no blue mana up. No Forcible in this format.
Blue-green Tron, you have a lot of red lands in play.
Yep. Now, I know that red-green Tron typically did not mind Blood Moon as much.
Right.
It would just be like, well, we're both slowed down now. I'm just going to get to 6 mana and start casting Worm Coil Engines.
Exactly.
This blue-green Tron list seems a little more vulnerable to it.
Yeah, and one of the things that Alex can do here is he can crack that expedition map, just go get an island.
Yep.
And potentially be able to deal with the Blood Moon. You might even be able to get a forest and just Nature's Claim it. I'm not sure if he's running a basic forest or not.
And if he's brought in the Nature's Claims or not, we'll see.
It doesn't look like he cracked it, though. So he's just going to go ahead and drop the Simic Signet.
Yep.
And be able to produce his mana that way.
Adam is a little flooded.
A little flooded, yeah. 4 lands, not good.
Smash Smithereens on your Signet.
That is very good.
That's real good. Plus, it gets some damage in. It pumps the Swift Spear. It denies him mana. Makes your Blood Moon better.
Smash the Smithereens is 3 damage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just did 7 that turn.
Yep, he's at 4.
So Adam's 2 burn spells away from closing it out, or just 1 burn spell and an attack phase.
Yep, and Blood Moon's certainly being disruptive. It's not.
It's not a lock.
No.
But it's definitely keeping Alex off of his game plan here. There's a forest, so he's got the ability to Nature's Claim it here, but at this point, you might just Nature's Claim the Expedition map and keep yourself out of lethal.
Ancient Stirrings.
Ancient Stirrings.
One thing that Blood Moon does here, it doesn't lock the deck out. It's got too many tutors for that.
Yep.
But it keeps the turn 3 Wormcoil Engine from being an option.
Yeah, and I think the only thing relevant I saw in Alex's Ancient Stirrings there
and
was
he
a
concedes.
Simic Signet. Yeah,
He's
so
dead on board. So yeah, Blood Moon bought him enough time. I believe we saw Wormcoil Engine there, where if he could have cracked the expedition map earlier for the missing Tron piece, he would have had the Wormcoil Engine on that turn.
Yep.
So Blood
and that's
Moon,
what he was banking on. So Blood Moon actually did what it was supposed to do there. I think Adam might have been able to play through a Wormcoil Engine given this match was
I agree.
But it would have been definitely more difficult.
You can see that this modern burn deck
is the real deal.
It's the real deal. It's very fast. It's extremely consistent. It's got powerful sideboard cards. And I don't know that there is a completely finalized best version floating around out there yet.
No, there's a splash of almost every color. I actually saw Destructive Revelry, and
I do like Destructive Revelry.
They were running just 2 Copperline Gorge, I think 1 Stomping Ground, and a handful of fetches, and were able to run Revelry in the sideboard.
I do like Revelry. It's a good one.
We've seen the white list with Boros Charm and Lightning Helix. We've seen the black list with Bump in the Night, and I'm sure we'll see blue list eventually with Treacherous.
So we do want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and sticking with us into the wee hours of the morning here. We are Dayton Magic Club. We are bringing you this broadcast live from Epic Loot
in
here,
Centerville,
Ohio. We recommend you check us out at DaytonMagicClubWebsite.com. We're looking for any and all unsolicited material. We would love to publish your Magic article. We'd love to publish your tournament report. If you are a patron of a local store or run a local store, we'd love to publish your details about your events. We exist to promote competitive Magic play within the local community here in southwestern Ohio. We also recommend you check out Epic Loot. It's a great shop. They've been very gracious hosting us here. And
had a good 45, 46 person turnout for standard.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. Pretty good numbers.
And they run Legacy here twice a month, which also gets a real good turnout.
And Modern every Friday night at 9 o'clock.
So great variety of formats here. Good room, good mix of friendly, casual players.
Yeah, definitely good people.
Absolutely. Good so definitely come out here and check us out. And check out Dayton Magic Club. Also, again, we do archive all of our recordings on YouTube and on Twitch, so check us out there. If you want to catch highlights and previous broadcast tournaments, we've been doing this, a lot of videos of.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it from us. Check us out. I don't know where we'll be next week. We'll be back here in 2, and you can definitely check out our website for more details. We do have a large tournament coming up that we are promoting. It's going to be real exciting. We have an Autism Speaks charity event. We're holding that at Game Haven in Fairborn, Ohio. The owner there, Scott, has graciously let us use his game room. He's donating a lot of prize.
I believe there's actually a box of Modern Masters up for grabs.
Absolutely, a bunch of door prizes, a box of Modern Masters for grand prize. And making a big special event out of it. We're hoping to do this again sometime, so we're hoping to make this event real exciting, real big turnout. Check us out on DaytonMagicClubWebsite.com for more details as we get closer to that. But that's on November 22nd.
Yep,
so that's coming right up. So definitely come by, say hi. It's for a great cause. All the proceeds are going to go to Autism Speaks, which is a great cause. So thanks for sticking with us, guys.
Yeah,
definitely check us out again. We'll be doing this again real soon.
Thank you.
And good night.
Good night.